Why the hell would I play Diablo 4? I uninstalled that shit months ago. This is a really common question out there on the internet right now, and I thought the same thing. Let's talk about this. Diving right in without any of the fluff or anything like that, one of the biggest components that's coming to Diablo 4 in Season 4 is trading. Now, this and this alone is something that we've been asking for literal years, and I am so excited for this because every single content creator or even just group of friends or anybody that's playing the game has at some point been like, damn, I really wish I could trade those legendary aspects to my homies. And then you have your other group of people who are like, damn, I really wish I could sell these items online. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not something I partake in or condone by any means, but it is something that's gonna come from this. But that doesn't change the fact that this is a massive win for at least the internal communities that play Diablo 4. There is, of course, a limit to this, and that limit is I don't believe you can trade uber uniques. I think you can trade everything leading up to that, which means just regular uniques, just not the ones that drop in like the whatever the 0.046 chance it is to get one. But again, this is a really big deal and super healthy for the game in the long run. Number 2 is itemization changes. The fact that they actually listened and are doing something about this right now is unbelievable. I actually literally don't believe it. When I see it on the PTR, which is also coming, then I will likely make another video talking about how fucking awesome this is. But what they're allegedly doing is simplifying the affixes or stat lines on items, meaning you'll have a lot less of those weird convoluted things that you don't necessarily understand because you don't know if you're going to do extra damage to something that's slowed, because is slowed considered chilled or is chilled considered slowed? This no longer has to be you or me. So overall, they're simplifying what they are. I believe it's going to be something a lot easier to comprehend for everybody, where it's just going to be either flat damage or an explanatory and easy to understand version of added damage. And from what I've heard, they're also going to be adding new and more meaningful stat lines for extras. Like my homie Rax was talking about resource on kill and things like that, which is kind of crazy. But really, this is another thing. I don't know why they didn't come out the gate with this, but you no longer have to worry about petting your dog and jumping on the trampoline at the same time to do bonus damage. So there's that. Another facet of itemization that I'm super excited about is that World Tier 3 will only drop sacred items. You will no longer see basic items that way. And the same goes for World Tier 4, where you're only going to see ancestral items. I don't even think you're going to see sacred items on World Tier 4 now, which is fantastic. And finally, when it comes to itemization, there's going to be greater affixes, which if you played last Epoch, it's very similar to that of exalted affixes on loot-generated items. I'm going to do a whole crafting video separately that kind of explains that to everybody, especially for those that haven't played last Epoch, so bear with me on that one. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll talk about that later. But on the topic of crafting, that is number 3 for this video. They are planning basically an entire overhaul for how the whole system works. And like I said previously, this would require an entire another video just to explain how it's going to work. But if it's anything like last Epoch was, the best way I can put it is that instead of upgrading the entire item overall like 5 times, you'll be able to upgrade items up to 12 times, and I believe you'll be able to target, similar to last Epoch, you'll be able to target specific stat lines rather than the overall whole. But this will be dealt with and spread wide open in a different video, so stick around for that. Number 4 on this list is Codex Changes. If you're anything like me, you play a class that doesn't get their legendary aspect from a dungeon, so you play the game basically on hard mode, and if you play casually, it's really rare that you, for example, find the legendary aspect Glacial, which all of last season, I think I found 2 before I got bored and quit, like everyone else. Well, the Even team at Blizzard has come through again. They saw that as a point of contention and said, we're gonna do something about that. Sorry, Noodle, we got you. It wasn't for me, it was for everybody else. It was for you guys. I'm just a pawn. But essentially, the long short of it is that every time you find one of those, or if you refine them or extract them or whatever, they go permanently into your codex, so you don't then consume it on another piece of gear. And the way it works is they still roll, they still have their ranges. The highest one that you find is the one that overrides and is saved in your codex. So if you find a max rank Glacial, for example, so your ice spikes are doing the highest amount of damage, you get that forever. I can't, without actually playing the game, I can't necessarily fathom how much that's going to reduce the amount of farming that you need to do to get a perfect build, and then reduce the amount of time it's going to take to change that build into something else. You'll be able to kind of do it within a couple hours now, instead of having to sit there and grind for days and days trying to get all your shit together. Number 5 in this video is Helltides. I did not take any notes on this, so I'm doing most of this based off of memory. So if you have anything to add to this, by all means, throw it in the comments down below. Thank you. But the way Helltides are going to work now is very similarly to how they were, but they're now combining a lot of stuff from Season 2, the old vampire tides that everybody loved, is now going to be kind of the same idea in all of Helltides. And Helltides are now going to be available in World Tier 1 and World Tier 2, so you'll be able to do them right away. Now, it's either like an aggression meter or a hell aggravation aggro. I think it's an aggro meter. but it's going to fill up the more you murder things in Helltide, and the further up it goes, the more mobs come to you. So your density is just going to start rolling, and it's going to snowball into more, and eventually there's going to be a limit break. And as far as I'm aware, when you hit that limit break, I believe either a new mob spawns or something happens and you have to fight some kind of boss, but then it just resets and you do it again. I'm going to leave the rest of the Helltide part up to you because like I said, I took no notes on it, but from what I do understand, it's going to be a wild change, which is just fantastic. Now for number 6, we've got to talk about Greater Rifts. I mean, the pit. The way that this is going to work is that you're going to farm essentially what's a Greater Rift key, which is an item that grants you entry to the pit. Now the pit will unlock for players who have completed a Nightmare Dungeon tier 45. Entrance to the pit will allegedly only cost 1 rune shard, and you turn this in at the obelisk at Saragar. And you'll obtain these rune shards from pretty much doing any other endgame content. Now very similarly to Diablo 3, you will not get removed from the pit if you die. Just like in a Greater Rift, you'll receive a little bit of a time penalty, but that's really it. Now what you gain from the pit is probably obviously an assload of experience, but in addition to that, that's where you're going to get your masterworking materials. And you'll be using these a lot in the upper echelon of crafting. Again, if it's anything like Last Epoch, we kind of have a pretty good idea of what to expect here. Now what would be number 7 if I had a little bit more detail on it, but I don't think we do, is that there's going to be another Uber boss to fight, and it's going to be none other than Andariel herself. She will allegedly have the same drop table as Duriel, and you farm her mats from the Beast in the Ice and Lord Zir. As you can see, there's really no shortage of badass things that are happening for Season 4. Now, whether or not all the players that have quit are going to come back and try out a lot of this new stuff is yet to be seen. But I will say without a shadow of a doubt, I'm absolutely playing Season 4. And what I really want to know is, are you going to play Season 4? If you are, let me know in the comments down below. On your way down there, make sure you subscribe to my channel because it's free and it really helps us out over here, and like this video so more people can see it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and if you're bored, YouTube's going to recommend this next one for you. Happy grinding, friends, and hopefully we see you in Season 4.